Welcome to episode 665 of the Entertainment 2.0 podcast, brought to you by thedigitalmediazone.com. I'm Josh Pollard.
And I'm Richard Gunther, and this is the show that puts you in control of your favorite movies, music, shows, and games. And we're coming at you a little bit early again.
Yeah, I don't know that we've ever done a Saturday recording before either. So we're doing all sorts of new things as we work around travel schedules, but we're still doing this live. And if you're live with us, like at least one person is in the chat right now, you would have seen that we just did that intro a second time, and I'm not sure that it was better the second time.
Oh, okay.
But it was recorded that time, and that's what's actually important.
That's the important part.
Yeah. So a fun set of topics this week for you all. We're going to do a little bit of a follow-up on the Google TV 4K Pro. Sorry, this is the on Google TV 4K Pro, not the one from Google itself. We're going to talk about a new feature in Android to make casting between devices easier. A new Xbox wireless headset that's just called the Xbox wireless headset. And we don't talk a ton about reading devices, but we talk about reading on the show a lot, and there are a whole bunch of new Kindles, so we'll be talking about everything new in the Kindle family announced in the last week. One thing we won't be talking about, anything that you all have had on your minds because you didn't send it to us. If you'd like us to do that, you're going to have to email us, entertainment20@thedigitalmediazone.com, for all of your show feedback. You can also find us on YouTube, Twitter, all of those things, all of that information at the end of the show or over in the show notes at www.thedigitalmediazone.com. So, Richard, let's dive right into this follow-up on the Google TV 4K Pro.
It's a mouthful, right? So we had talked about the Walmart device. This is Walmart's house brand ONN, and how good their Google TV device is. Both Josh and I have it. We both use it. We're both fairly happy with it, I think. And one of the reasons this came up was because Google came out with their replacement for the Chromecast, which is their Google TV streamer box, which I think is just called the Google TV Streamer. I don't know.
Yeah, that's right.
A weird name. But in any event, we were making this comparison between the two devices, and it made me think that, this Google box from Walmart kind of has an advantage because it can also function as a Google Assistant speaker, which the device from Google does not. It is a dedicated Google streaming box. So I hadn't really tried that before. And we actually questioned as we were talking about it, does that work when the TV is off? How would that work when the TV is off? Because it's connected to the television. And so I went and did a little bit of research, and Josh did a little bit of testing, and we have some answers. I turned to Jared Newman, who's one of the journalists that I follow a lot in this space, and we've talked about his stuff before. And he had a really good review in Tech Hive. I don't really like providing links to Tech Hive all that often because it's really spammy in terms of the pop-ups and everything. But he has a great review, very thorough, of the Google device from Walmart. And he talks about how good is it as a speaker for Google Assistant. And the bottom line is that it can work, but it's not great. So his assessment is that the main advantage of something like this that's a speaker and also connected to your television should potentially be to control your television. And his testing of it showed that the ability to control the television was really limited and oftentimes unreliable. So he would try and call up YouTube videos. He would try and navigate with it. He would try a number of different things that you would expect you should be able to call out and do. And sometimes even work if you use the microphone built into the remote, but didn't necessarily work from the box itself when you were just talking to it. So that's kind of frustrating. The interesting thing I found in his review is that if you ask it for something and it's going to provide supplemental information, for example, if you ask for the weather forecast, it'll actually turn on the television and display the forecast information the same way that it would if you asked it for weather when the TV was on. So that's kind of interesting. And then finally, don't think of using this as you might use any other Google speaker around your home, because you can't change the volume on this speaker at all, which is just kind of absurd.
Is that true in all scenarios? Like whether it's, using your TV speakers or something through eARC, like through a sound bar, like, is that just true across the board?
I think it's just the volume that's coming out of the speaker on the device itself. So if it's connected to your television and then anything that it does, the sound is going to come out of your television, then that can be adjusted, of course. But the speaker on the device itself, according to his review, cannot be adjusted, which is just, it's so weird. It's just a very strange limitation that hopefully someday they fix, because that should be software fixable.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Okay, so that's interesting. He definitely tested more things than I did. One of our bigger questions that we had talked about previously was, can you use it as a speaker without the TV being on? And that scenario is for things like smart home control, which is the main thing that I'm using it for. And that is still the main thing that we use voice control through this box for. Turn the lights off and on. We're watching.
This box also, just to kind of add on to that, this box can also act as a Matter hub. So it is designed to support that scenario specifically.
Not the on device.
The on device.
It works as a Matter hub?
I think it does. And now you're making me question it.
I think you're thinking of the Google one. The Google one definitely does,
okay,
but I don't think the on one
go back
does.
And check.
Yeah. Yeah, the Google one for sure. The on one, I don't think so. But anything that you've got connected through your Google Assistant ecosystem, whether you're using something else like SmartThings or whatever, that would still work through this. Yeah.
No, you're right. I misspoke there. It is the Google thing. I was conflating two of his different reviews.
Yeah. So I do think this is an opportunity, and maybe this is a little bit more fitting for what's going on in our entertainment center at the end of the show, but we're already talking about this device. So I want to, it's been a few months that we've had these, and this is my daily driver. This is what we use every single day for watching TV in my house. And so wanted to do a little bit of a check-in on how it's going. One concern that we had for these things was longer-term performance. And I would say for the most part, the performance has been good. There are times when I first started or whatever that it lags a little bit in scrolling between the apps, but then it seems to catch up and then it does fine. So outside of that, performance seems more than fine, at the very least acceptable. How has performance been on yours?
It's been fine. And but I'm not using it as a daily experience. I use it in my office. So when I put the television on in my office, maybe once a week. So it's not like I'm doing my nightly searching for stuff or anything like that. I'm usually putting it on, going right to YouTube or going right to a specific live channel from the TV Guide portion of the Google experience. And for that, I mean, how bad could that be, right? Plus, I have my list of live channels organized by the order in which I'm likely to go to those channels. So it's not like I'm really taxing it much.
Yeah. So the one problem that I've been having recently, and this has happened inside of Max and inside of Disney Plus, so I don't think it's just the app itself. I think it's something with either the streamer or my sound setup or something, because in both of those apps, 9 times out of 10, if I open it up to go watch something, and we're doing that, we're watching a Disney Plus show right now as a family. We'll talk about it later. Almost always I get no sound. And there have been times or situations like this where the quick solution is to grab the TV remote, go to the audio settings, switch it from eARC to the TV speakers, and then switch it back, which typically works. It's still a little bit frustrating that A, I have to do it at all, and then B, it almost always stops the show and you have to start it again. It doesn't just pause it, it stops it. Even that isn't working anymore. So when we've been watching shows on Disney Plus, we've just been using the TV speakers, which sounds terrible, except that it's an LG OLED, so they're about as good of TV speakers as you're going to get. They're really not that bad, right? So I don't know what's going on there, and if that's my TV suddenly being weird, if it's my WiSA sound send that is the device that's plugged into that HDMI port, if that thing is acting up. I've rebooted it. I'm not sure what the problem is, but it's getting really frustrating. And that on top of the fact that when I first got it, I could not for the life of me get this thing to control TV volume and power through HDMI CEC. So I disabled most of it. And frankly, I wonder if that's part of the problem. So this weekend, if I have time, I'm going to go in and mess with all of the HDMI CEC things again to see if I can fix all of these problems.
Well, and I do have CEC on, but I still have the same problem that you did, where there is no CEC control from this box to the TV for power. You still have to handle that differently, like with infrared or something. So, yeah, I agree. That's not ideal, but still a good device. I think the conclusion from Jared's review of Google's new device is that, hey, if you don't need this slightly extra performance bump and I guess the Matter hub that comes with the Google device, the On is a really good alternative for half the price.
Yeah, for sure. It's great. It's great as a $50 box. I think it'd be really hard to find something that is as feature packed and performs as well for that price.
Right.
Okay, well, let's keep it in the Google ecosystem, but move to more of the audio side of things. And I had really hoped that this was going to be an audio and a video story, but right now it's just an audio story. So Google announced back at CES in January a new feature that they just called Hold Close to Cast, which is awkward to say, and it's kind of a mouthful, but I guess it really gets to the point of what you're trying to do here. And the idea is simple. You're listening to music on your phone. Maybe you're using Spotify, maybe you're using YouTube Music, and you are now in the kitchen and it's time to make dinner, and you've got a Google Pixel tablet in there that's doing double duty as like your main tablet plus your kitchen sound system. Well, now as this feature is starting to roll out, you can just take your phone and move it close to the tablet, and it will recognize that those two devices are close to each other and will transfer the music from your phone to the Pixel tablet. And it's using ultra wideband radios, which is why this is only available in a certain subset of devices. This is not all Android devices right now. But the idea is pretty cool. And I think I would just like to see it with more types of media and services, because if you're going from a phone, which has a screen, to a tablet, which has a screen, it'd be nice to transfer YouTube videos or Netflix shows or anything that you might be watching between them. And this functionality also works two ways. Maybe you're done preparing dinner or your breakfast or whatever it is, and you want to keep listening to what you're listening to, but now you want to put it on your phone to go back to it. Well, move your phone next to the tablet again, and it will cast it back from the tablet to your phone, and you can, move about the rest of your house and still listen to whatever it was that you were listening to there. This sounds great. Richard, does Apple has something like this in their ecosystem, don't they?
Yeah, they do. They have the ability to, it's not really tap, but similar to what they're talking about here. You move your phone or your device close to one of the HomePod speakers, and you can transfer control to that speaker. I don't know if it works from device to device, but if you have an iPad or an iPhone, then you can go up to your speaker and it'll show on the screen of your phone, hey, do you want to transfer this to this device? Or it's basically starting an AirPlay session from your phone or tablet to your speaker, which is a nice thing. I mean, with all the ultra wideband chips in all the devices that are coming out nowadays, I'd ultimately like to see a future where you can optionally, maybe based on who it is, whose device it is, and what time of day it is, and maybe even what rooms you're in, just have it follow you. Just automatically switch to the room that I'm in when I enter the space. But we're not there yet. In theory, the technology that's in these devices should support that. But I think implementing that in a way that feels, I'm going to use this word, magical, as opposed to annoying, is going to be really tricky.
Yeah. What is the typical distance that these ultra wideband radios typically operate at?
You can ask me for specs. I have no idea.
Well, and I don't, because the use case here that Google is implementing here, it makes it sound like it's almost like tap to pay. You've got to be fairly close. But what you're describing, if I walk into my kitchen, the only way I'm going to be close enough, maybe if I walk past the part of the counter where my Google speaker thingy is,
right?
It's still at the back of the counter, and it's what average counters are 3 feet deep, something like that. That's way further away than if I'm using tap to pay at the grocery store.
Yeah, which is different. I don't. It's my understanding that should not be an issue. But again, when you get that distance, then you end up with the scenario is okay, well, which device do we really want to transfer over? And what if you have multiple people in the room? And all those scenarios can get kind of complicated. I think, if I understand right, and please write in and let us know if I have this wrong, the ultra wideband, the way it's been implemented in these devices, they should even be able to gauge how far they are away from each other. So you could potentially use that as some indicator to create a zone in which you might transfer content from one to the other. But it's going to be interesting to see how different companies approach this. And the one that gets it right at first, I hope they patent the hell out of it.
Do you though? Because
I do, because I think this is a tricky enough thing that you can't say, oh, well, this is just a standard, everybody's doing this. I think that this is a difficult enough problem that the company that solves it should enjoy the licensing fees and, frankly, in my opinion, be required to license it so that other companies can also do the same sort of thing.
Well, that's the thing, is that I don't know that if it gets, if it's Apple or Google that figures this out, Do you really think that either of them are going to share that, even if it's through a licensing agreement?
Oh, it depends what kind of mood they're in. Half the time they put stuff in open forums, and then half the time they patent it. So who knows?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that would be cool. So what devices does this work on right now? It's basically if you have a Pixel Pro series phone, so Pixel 6 Pro all the way up through the latest Pixel 9 Pros. If your phone says Pro in it and it's a 6 or newer, it supports it. The Pixel Fold devices both support it. So that's everything on the phone side. And then you've basically just got the Pixel tablet. Which is really what Google is trying to get people to replace all of their speakers. And why can't I think, what is the name? Google Home Hub. That's the thing that you and I have both had in the past. And that's what I've got in my kitchen too.
And they're now called Nest Hubs for some reason.
Right. So they want everybody to switch to the Pixel tablets to replace all of those because they're more expensive probably. And this makes a little bit of an argument for why you might want to do that. Unfortunately, the newest device, well, I guess that's not entirely true because the Pixel 9 Pro is newer than anything that we're talking about here. But one of the newest devices, the Google TV streamer, doesn't support this because it doesn't have that ultra wideband radio inside of it. So if you want to hold close to cast with your Google TV streamer, that's not going to work. Maybe that's not as, I think in a normal use case, that's probably not a big deal. I'm sitting on my couch. I don't want to get up to hold my phone next to the streamer to cast. So that really only makes sense as I'm entering or exiting the room. But that magical use case that you just described where I'm listening to music on the TV and now I'm going to the kitchen and it can detect that I'm doing that, that would be awesome. And the current Google TV streamer wouldn't be able to do that yet. All right. Well, let's move into the gaming section, and which is not our last news section this week. Remember, I told you we've got Kindles to talk about too. So back in, I believe it was in 2020, when the Xbox Series X and S launched, Xbox launched their own wireless headset, creatively named the Xbox Wireless Headset. And I was super excited about it. It sounded like it was, they talked a lot about a noise isolating mic that would not pick up sound from people that were near the person wearing the headset as much. In reality, two of my friends that I play with regularly have that headset, and it does not do a great job at that. In fact, when it first launched, it felt like it did a worse job at that than other headsets that we were using at the time. But maybe it's better now, I think. But it's still not, the golden solution to all of that. Anyway, it's a good headset. And now they've got a new version of it available. It doesn't have some fancy new name. It's just the newer Xbox wireless headset. It almost looks identical to the old one too. The only real visual difference between them is the original version had an Xbox green ring around the ear cups, and this one doesn't have that. It's just all black, which maybe you want that. If you want it to look even less like a gaming headset and more just like a normal headset or headphones. Other than that, it all basically looks the same. It still connects to things the same way. It has the built-in Xbox Audio Connect functionality where when you turn this on, if it's been paired with an Xbox, it will turn on your Xbox for you and connect using that Xbox wireless audio protocol. It also has Bluetooth. This time around, it's Bluetooth 5.3, which does mean there's the potential of this thing supporting Bluetooth Audio LE, which could mean Auracast, things like that. But again, we'd never really know until someone proves that it works. And it apparently has a bigger battery. One other change, well, it's really two changes, but I think they're related. The price changes. This this device is now $110. The previous one was $100. But the difference here, the connection is that it also comes with support for Dolby Atmos for headphones, which with the previous one, it didn't include it natively. It had the tech to support it, but you had to essentially purchase a license to Dolby Atmos for headphones from the Microsoft Store. How much did that cost? $10. Now you're just getting it built in for free. For free, I guess, in air quotes, since the headset does cost $10 more than it did before. But now you don't have to go through the extra step of purchasing it separately. So they say that the new microphone does an even better job at doing noise isolation, where the microphone is really only focusing on your voice instead of the noises in your room. It also has auto mute. I'd be real curious to see how well that works, especially with people who are quiet talkers. That would be interesting. And then the Bluetooth 5.3, it does support, the ultra low latency spec of Bluetooth 5.3 for when you're connecting it to a phone or a PC or tablet or something like that. And then importantly, with headsets that support both, native direct Xbox connection and Bluetooth, it does have the ability to connect to multiple devices simultaneously. So you can use the Xbox connection to hear your game audio, your game chat, if you're using that, and have it be Bluetooth connected to something like your phone, so that maybe you're listening to Spotify on your phone, listening to a podcast on your phone, or another really common use case, using Discord or some other voice chat app with the people you're gaming with through your phone. So you can do those things together. That's a pretty big deal for the way a lot of people are gaming nowadays. So lots of great features, supposedly better at noise isolation, apparently better battery life, but it is 2024. And when I see a headset that has 20 hours of battery life, that number doesn't blow me away anymore. 4 years ago, that would have been an impressive number, but now we're seeing headsets that have 50, 60, 70, 80 hours of battery life, and 20 hours of battery life doesn't surprise me. That's not great. So there have been a lot of headsets that we've talked about recently on this show. This is not one that I'm super excited about. I would love for people to write in and tell me why I should be considering this one as the one to replace my aging Turtle Beach Stealth 600 or whatever it is. I need to replace that headset this year. This doesn't seem to be making a compelling enough case when there's some other really good ones. They are a little bit more expensive, but I don't know, 20 hours of battery life, a microphone that seems a little bit untested. I don't know.
I, for one, think it's probably good that these don't come up to snuff, because you already have too many options right now. I think this would just make your decision even harder.
Probably. They do look nice, though. I do like that. They just look like a normal headset. They don't look like crazy spaceship, like weird, crazy gamer stuff that only 12-year-olds are excited to wear. Occasionally, I might be playing a game on a Saturday afternoon and one of my kids' friends will drop off one of their kids and Jen will answer the door because I'm in the middle of a game. I don't want to look like a freaking weirdo with a spaceship on my head in the form of a headset when a neighbor comes to the door. I just want a normal looking headset.
You don't take your headset off when you answer?
Well, it depends. If I'm in a game that I can pause to go and answer the door, then yes. But if Jen is the one answering the door,
Got it.
I don't want to, I already look like a rude person for not getting enough from my game, right? I don't need to look like a weird, rude person.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So we'll keep an eye on all of these headsets. Definitely be looking for reviews of these soon as you all make purchasing decisions, and I will be too. Okay, Richard, Kindles. Do you have a Kindle?
I do. And I'm trying to remember the last time that I used it. I know that I took it with me on a trip in 2020.
Wow.
I don't know if I have taken it anywhere since. I don't read with my eyes anymore. I
Yeah.
read with my ears. And
Yep.
so it turned out to be a kind of a superfluous device for me, particularly since I also have an iPad mini. So if I need a reader, I'm more likely to just pull out my mini, which I do travel with because it's such a nice, small, convenient device.
Right. The one time, not one, but the few times a year that I really want a Kindle are the days, and there aren't many of them, are the days that I am going to the beach without my children.
Yep.
That's it. Like that is the ultimate use case, right? Because
Yep.
then you can read it in the sun without your iPad overheating and without having to like crank the brightness up on your iPad and all of that craziness.
Well, and still being able to see it. I mean, even just using your phone all the way cranked up in direct sunlight on the beach can be challenging. So
Yeah.
The advantage of the Kindle readers, now of course they're Kindle tablets too, but we're talking about Kindle readers, are that they're based on e-ink, which doesn't require a backlight.
Right. Yeah. And if you're cranking the screen brightness up on your phone or your tablet to be able to read on the beach or at a park or whatever like that, you're obliterating your battery
Right,
too.
right, exactly.
So good luck getting home if you needed it for GPS, right?
Or unlocking your car.
Yeah. Wow. You're really living in the future. Okay. So we've got a few new Kindles to discuss here. The newest and potentially most interesting of the bunch is the Kindle Colorsoft. It's still an e-ink reader. It's 7-inch form factor, similar to the main Kindles that we're used to seeing. But the cool thing here is it is a color e-ink screen. So if you're reading comic books, if you're reading books that have lots of pictures, if you just want to look at your book library not in monochrome colors, this will do that for you. It still has a front light for lower light situations, and the front light on this one is auto adjusting. This has more storage than some of the lower end Kindles at 32 gigs of storage. You know, another thing that we didn't talk about as being a benefit to Kindles, this thing's waterproof.
Yeah.
If you take it to the beach or to the pool or in the bathtub or whatever, which people like to do, it's okay. It'll work. You know, don't drop your iPad in the pool, guys. Not a good idea.
Right.
So color screen, $280. So it's a little more than $100 more than the other kind of top of the line, than the Kindle Paperwhite that we're going to talk about. Is color worth $100 to you?
I think this is a fascinating device. So of the devices that we're going to talk about, this is the one I want to go see. I want to see how they pulled this off. We've been talking about color e-ink for years. In fact, I think it was a decade ago when I saw one of the first color e-ink prototypes that some company was showing off at CES. And it was amazing at the time, but typically with this technology, the colors look a little bit washed out.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be really intriguing to see just how well they did representing the color on these devices. Now, you know, this isn't going to be like watching video quality color.
Right.
It's just to add color to the experience so that if you have like a travel book, or if, like you mentioned, if you're reading if you're reading comics or graphic novels or anything, or magazines, things that might take advantage of color, then you're not just, you know, limited to either the grayscale or you know, the four colors that you might get on a typical, and by four colors I mean four shades of black that you might get on a traditional e-ink device. So I don't think I'll end up getting one. That could be famous last words, who knows? But I am really intrigued by this device, and I think this is amazing. $280 for that. I don't think that's a crazy price, particularly for a first generation device of this type.
Yeah, I agree. And like you, I'm not going to buy one of these because like you, I don't read that much with my eyeballs. Most of my reading is through audiobooks and stuff like that. But if I were reading magazines really frequently or reading comic books and stuff like this feels like a great solution for people who are getting digital versions of comic books from, actually, I think Amazon owns one of those comic services now. So I wonder if
how convenient
you can just get comics like through subscription services and stuff right on this device. That would be fantastic. So yeah, the price does seem good for what you're getting here. It is all of the features that are in the top of the line Kindle Paperwhite that we're going to talk about in a little bit, but also color. So it looks cool. Like you, I want to see one of these in person to see how good those images look.
Yep.
All right. The other kind of off device, the different device that Kindle released, this is an update. The Kindle Scribe, the first Kindle Scribe was released, I believe, in 2022. And the main differences between the Scribe and the other devices is it's bigger and it comes with a pen that allows you to write in it. So it can be your e-reader and a notebook, basically, and still use e-ink. So it's still usable in any lighting scenario, and gives you that ability to take notes. It's a 10.2 inch screen. This new one is also 10.2 inches, but they've redesigned it. They've redesigned the bezels and the form factor to make writing on it more comfortable. This includes the pen. You don't have to buy that separately. Hello, Apple. We don't want to buy the pen separately. And they've refined a lot of the experience this time around. When the original Scribe launched, if you wanted to take notes in a book, the experience was essentially tap somewhere, make like a Post-it note that then like hides and shows. And this time around, you can just write on the book, like write in the margins, wherever you want. And then it's even smart enough to like keep track of where that is if you change the font size of the book and things like that. So that sounds like a much better experience there. The other big downside to the original one was if you were using it as a notebook and you're scribbling handwriting all over the place, you could transfer that notebook to other devices, but it would just export images or PDFs. And it was just your handwriting. And now it has the ability to convert your handwriting to like typed out text. And anybody who's used an iPad or something like that for handwriting in the past knows how beneficial that can be. Like you're just scribbling as fast as you can when you're taking notes frequently on a device like this. And you're probably going to want to turn those notes into something a little bit more usable in the future. And having the ability to do that, really, really nice. And then lastly, it's 2024. We have to put AI into everything. So this thing has the ability to give you AI summaries of your notebooks and stuff like that. Okay. I mean, it's my notes. Do I really need an AI summary of the notes that I wrote? I'm not sure that I do, but maybe there are use cases that I'm not thinking of where that would be nice. So the price, there are two versions, and the price is impacted by the capacity of the storage. There's a 16 gig version for $400, and there's a 32 gig version for $420. Just buy the bigger version. It's $20.
$20, right? This isn't like Apple where the next bump is going to cost another $100.
Exactly. Just buy the $420 Kindle Scribe if you're looking for this type of device. All right, and then the Paperwhite. There's two versions. There's the Paperwhite and the Paperwhite Signature Edition. The Paperwhite is the one that everyone recommends. You know, if you're looking for an e-reader, it's got the bigger screen. It's 7 inches as opposed to the smaller 6-inch one. This is supposed to be the fastest Kindle ever. It's got a higher contrast screen. They say it has 25% faster page turns than the previous one. If you do get the signature edition, it has an auto-adjusting front light, so you don't have to mess with the settings as you move from room to room or things like that. It also supports wireless charging, and the signature edition has 32 gigs of storage as opposed to the 16 gigs in the regular edition of the Paperwhite. Again, it's waterproof. Take it wherever you want to read. The price on this, the base model, $160, the signature edition, $200. You know, maybe it's also important to point out these Kindles, there's another tier of pricing with these. The prices that we're talking about here, these are if you are willing to have ads displayed on your home screen.
Oh, right. Right.
So if you want to turn the ads off, add $20 to all of these prices, basically. If the ads really are just only on the screen when you turn the screen on, I don't know that I care enough to even pay the extra $20. But
right.
And you can buy the ad supported model and then change your mind later and pay to remove the ad. So you don't have to make that decision right away. The wireless charging seems like a gimmick on a device that will last weeks on a battery charge. Like why do I need a separate charging stand? Because you need to buy a separate charging stand to charge this thing wirelessly when you're charging it like every couple of months.
Yeah, I think it's purely convenience that we're getting to the point where more and more devices don't actually have to be you're not fumbling with a cable. You can just put it down somewhere and have it charge. And I've come to like that experience a lot. I still stress that every time I do that, the devices I'm charging seem to get very, very warm.
Mm-hmm.
But the convenience of it is nice. No, you don't have to leave a cable out on your desk or on your counter or whatever.
Right. Where I stress about that is your battery only has so many charge cycles.
Right.
And every time you start charging, that counter goes down. So I try to be in that boat of charging less frequently.
Yeah, I don't know if different batteries handle it differently. Something that I heard pretty recently, and this is more related to how you think about recharging, I think a car, is that the charge cycles are often based on like how many times you get to target. So, for example, just starting a charge and charging it maybe like 20%, that doesn't really count as a charge cycle. It's the additive of getting to your target, which in most cars is 80. The reality is you don't really charge a car to 100% unless you need the extra mile, the extra mileage for the trip or whatever. But I don't know if phone batteries and device batteries like this kind of work the same way or not. Anyway, that's moot. There's still one more.
There is still one more. It's the baseline Kindle. It hasn't really changed much. It's still the 6-inch screen. It's got 16 gigs of storage. It's got a brighter front light, 25% brighter this time around, and it's $110. So if you just need the cheapest, smallest Kindle available to you, there you go. But the Paperwhite is really where it's at. If you're using these a lot, spring for the Paperwhite. It's a better experience all around. But yeah, there you go. They're all ready. And the question is, will they be on sale for Black Friday in less than a month?
Well, I can tell you that one of them specifically will not be. So what we haven't talked about is the availability here. The Paperwhite and the standard Kindle are already available today. If you're interested in the Colorsoft, that's not going to be out until the end of this month, the end of October, but you will be able to get that then. And then the Scribe, the new version of the Scribe, will not come out until December 4th, I believe. So I would not expect any Black Friday sales on that one.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. Okay, well, that does it for our news. So, Richard, let's jump into what's going on in our entertainment centers.
Yeah, still not a ton. I've been trying to focus my viewing to get things completed. Some of them, unfortunately, are more completed than others. For example, I finished watching season 1 of Orphan Black Echoes, really enjoyed it. I was okay with the season cliffhanger and was surprised it wasn't a little bit more dramatic. I think I expected more out of it. Well, so did apparently everyone, because the thing's been canceled. AMC is not renewing Orphan Black Echoes. So there you go. It was fun. But hey, speaking of shows where Kristen Ritter plays a female hero who doesn't remember her past and has some weird ties to evil doctors, Jessica Jones, season 2. I had started that a while ago and didn't really get through it. So I'm back to that now, and I am enjoying that. I'm glad I've gotten back to that. And I think we've talked about this before, because I think at one point you watched it because I was so impressed by it. But man, the opening sequence for Jessica Jones is just so beautiful. It's such a clever use of art and sound and design. If nothing else, just go check out the title sequence for Jessica Jones at some point in time.
Is that true in both seasons?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the same. And do it in HDR because some of the frames in that opening sequence just take advantage of blinding light in clever ways. So, yeah, very, very cool. Then I am so happy that What We Do in the Shadows has started up again. Season 6 has started, and the first 3 episodes of that hit Hulu. It'll be coming out every week after this. So we started that, and just in one night, we watched those first 3 episodes. This is a show Edward and I watched together and just absolutely love. This is the comedy about a bunch of vampires that live on Long Island and no, not Long Island. Anyway, somewhere in New York, and Staten Island, and they're just a bunch of buffoons, and it's very, very funny. And then finally, we started the 2nd season of Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power. Watched the first episode. I'm going to need to watch that again because I fell asleep half the way through. I don't think that it was an issue with the show, although notoriously this dude has problems with pacing. I mean, how many movies did it take to tell the story of The Hobbit, a short story? But anyway, we've enjoyed the first season and wanted to get to start watching season 2. So I'm sure we'll be working through that next. And I have some other stuff that I've kind of put on a shelf before that I want to get back to as well now. But we have shows coming back. Ghosts is coming back on CBS, and a number of other things that I enjoy watching are coming back. So it's going to start getting hectic again for me, I think. But that's it. That's all I've been doing. Still not caught up on podcasts because we had our big PI planning, our big 10-week development program planning at my client this week. And so that takes all my time for like a day of prep and then the actual 2 days that we're doing it. And I have not been able to keep up with this week's shows.
Oof, I feel you. That's next week for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, mine is not quite as long as typical either because I was traveling in the first part of this week. So I played a little bit of NHL last week, and that's pretty much it. But we have been watching some TV as a family. Well, 3 of the 4 of us, not the youngest. We decided to start watching Agatha All Along.
Oh, nice.
Did you watch this already?
I have not. I've wanted to watch it because, of course, I watched WandaVision, and so this is not really a spin-off, but it builds on that, and specifically one of the characters from that.
Correct. So here's what I would recommend. We are 4 or 5 episodes into it so far. I'm enjoying it. Like they're really digging it, but I'm always just like, okay, it's Marvel. Although this isn't just Marvel because it's witches instead. Like it's not superheroes and stuff like that. It's witches doing witchy things, and it is interesting from that perspective. How well do you remember WandaVision? If you don't remember WandaVision super well, maybe watch like a recap thing. I'm not saying you need to rewatch all of WandaVision, but there's some WandaVision tie-in stuff here that I feel like both Jen and Eden are like, oh yeah, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I don't remember anything about that person because I haven't watched WandaVision in 2 or 3 years or whenever the last season was on.
Because it's literally been 3.5 years since that show came out, right? So.
Right. Yes, and I'm notoriously bad at remembering anything about the shows that I watch. I couldn't even tell you how Mr. Robot ended, and I loved Mr. Robot. So
ditto.
Yeah, that's just how my brain works. But it's been good. Like if you liked WandaVision and stuff, I think you're gonna love Agatha All Along. It's well done. Unless you hate musicals, I'll just leave it at that.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. It's Disney. It's not just Marvel. It's also Disney. And I think it actually works in this setting. And then a little bit of Penguins hockey that I've gotten to watch. And that's really it there. On the reading front, I finished The Haunting of Ashburn House. I don't think I had finished it the last time we talked. This time I did finish the audiobook of that. Again, audiobooks, not ebooks for me. I enjoyed it. It was a good story. But maybe we'll talk about that in another time and place.
Huh.
So, yeah. So that's what's been going on in my entertainment center. And hopefully between now and the next episode, the next real episode, I will play with HDMI, eARC, and all of that stuff on my TV and figure out what's going on there.
Huh. You keep on teasing something there, Josh.
Yeah. Well, people might not have to wait that long for the tease. We'll see.
Okay.
But just a tease. All right. Well, that is going to do it for this episode. If you'd like to get a hold of us, there's a bunch of ways you can do that. I'm on Twitter at Josh Pollard. So is the website at DigiMediaZone. Richard is at Richard Gunther on Mastodon. We're also on YouTube. You can watch the video recording of these shows. Head to the website, click the button to get to the YouTube video, and then, of course, like and subscribe to the channel over there. We're producing videos because we're also live streaming most of the time. So follow us on socials to know, or once you get to one of these shows, just follow us on Twitch, and it will also automatically notify you when we've gone live. Which, once we get back into the normal swing of things, probably going to get back to the more usual routine of Tuesday evenings around 8:30 p.m. Eastern.
You keep saying that. I don't think that's been usual for a year now, but we'll see.
I mean, it's Tuesdays or Wednesdays as usual. It's not like we're usually recording on Saturday mornings like we are today.
This is very unusual.
This is so
I have
weird.
Coffee instead of beer. This is very unusual.
It's very unusual. I mean, you could have grabbed a beer. I wouldn't have judged you.
No.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for episode 665. He's Richard Gunther, and I'm Josh Pollard. Thanks for listening to Entertainment 2.0. Adios.
Goodbye.